Taiwan. I'm Eric Gao with the news from here in Taipei. Thanks for joining us. Rescue teams are stepping up the search for the 3 people who are still missing more than a week after a magnitude 7.2 earthquake struck Hokkien. One worker is believed to be trapped 5 stories below ground in a mine in New Taipei. Rescuers are using heavy machinery to try and reach that area, but reports suggest that the miner may not have survived. Meanwhile, search teams have identified a section of mountain trail outside of Hokkien where they believe 2 missing Singaporeans may be. 128 buildings across the country were damaged in last week's earthquake, leaving residents with nowhere to go. John Van Triest has this report on their situation.
We'll see.
This 17-story apartment block in Hualien withstood last week's earthquake, but not without heavy damage. The concrete walls are punched full of holes and riddled with cracks, and debris covers the floors. Inspectors say the building can be repaired, but for now, the nearly 400 residents must find somewhere else to live. Over a week after the earthquake, most still don't have a long-term plan.
昨天晚上住朋友家，现在就是要去找房子。
对面的香客大楼就让我们莲花的住，大部分第一时间他们还是找亲朋好友。
This is just one of 128 buildings across Taiwan that either need repairs or are set for demolition after the earthquake in Hualien. Many are residential. The government has come up with a financial support scheme to help displaced people. It will offer up to $47,000 US to cover repairs and up to $109,000 to cover interest on loans for housing that needs reconstruction. And there's funding to cover the rent in a new place while people wait for repairs or rebuilding, up to $560 a month. But in Hualien especially, there are those who'd rather risk aftershocks and stay put in their damaged homes. With many people suddenly needing an apartment in this city of just 100,000, vacancies, especially reasonably priced ones, are in short supply. One other suggestion has been temporary prefabricated housing, the kind that can be put up and taken down again.
如果要做这个组合屋的话，还必须要去盘点它适合的地点哦。初步大概有9个地方。
Some say this might not be a bad idea, considering the scale of destruction.
如果他的生活机能状况是好的话，我个人是不排斥的。
But will this housing be close to where people work and go to school? How will it be set up?
因为它的不确定性有太多，可能都是大家民众在考量是否要做组合屋的这些种种问题。
As engineers take stock of the scale of the demolition and repair work that needs to be done, officials are sizing up the human cost and figuring out how to help survivors through the weeks and months ahead. James Lin and John Van Triest for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's incoming Premier, Zuo Rongtai, has revealed his picks for 5 of the country's next cabinet ministers. Our reporter Leslie Lau was there for the announcement.
2 days after Taiwan President-elect Taichung announced his pick for Taiwan's next premier, Zuo Rongtai, Zuo today announced 5 of Taiwan's next cabinet ministers.
我们希望在现有的执政的基础上，能够持续的加油，为老问题找新方法，为新问题找好方法。
First, we have Liu Sifang, who's been tapped as Taiwan's next interior minister. Liu is a former deputy mayor of Kaohsiung City in southern Taiwan. She's also been a legislator, and she's also been the Secretary General of the cabinet. However, she's probably best known for overseeing disaster relief efforts after a gas explosion in Kaohsiung City in 2014. Taiwan's current Cabinet Secretary General Li Mengyan will be Taiwan's next transport minister. Now, when announcing his appointment, Zuo pointed out that Li has a background in environmental engineering, and Li has been tasked with developing Taiwan's infrastructure with an emphasis on offsetting the negative impacts of climate change. Taiwan's next justice minister will be Zeng Mingqian, who is currently Taipei City's chief prosecutor. Taiwan's next education minister is Zeng Yingyao, who is the current president of National Sun Yat-sen University in southern Taiwan. When announcing his appointment, Zuo says that Zeng has years of experience developing bilingual education and raising student competitiveness, which has been an emphasis point for the ruling DPP administration over the years. Finally, Zuo announced that Taiwan's next culture minister will be writer and screenwriter Li Yuan, better known by his pen name Xiao Ye. What's interesting to point out is that Li was actually an aide to Taipei Mayor Ko Wen-je, who now runs the opposition Taiwan People's Party. However, Zhuo seemed confident in Li's ability to help develop Taiwan's culture, whether it be local culture, industrial culture, and make that a bright spot on the international stage. There remains about 10 cabinet positions that have yet to be announced. The cabinet spokesperson told TaiwanPlus earlier that there are 2 to 3 more cabinet minister position announcement events like these in the works. Still yet to be announced are vital arms of government like the ministers for the Foreign Affairs Ministry and the Defense Ministry. Justin Wu and Leslie Liao in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan has signed a new contract with the United States to maintain its military communication system. That deal is valued at $250 million and is going to provide software and technical support for Taiwan's U.S.-made IMSE system. This comes as Taiwan awaits the delivery of a next-generation upgrade that it purchased in December of 2020. Now, the military has not announced when it expects that upgrade to happen. The U.S., Japan, and the Philippines have wrapped up an unprecedented trilateral summit, with Washington saying its defense commitments to the other two countries are ironclad. Jaime Okan reports.
A historic meeting just concluded. Leaders from the U.S., Japan, and the Philippines are in Washington, D.C., seeking to strengthen security ties in the Indo-Pacific region. It's the first such summit between the three countries, and Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. says their relationship is bound by a common goal.
We meet today as friends and partners bound by a shared vision and pursuit of a peaceful, stable, and prosperous Indo-Pacific. It is a partnership born not out of convenience nor of expediency, but as a natural progression of a deepening relation and robust cooperation amongst our three countries.
The summit comes as the Philippines struggles to confront China's increasingly aggressive actions in the South China Sea, a massive body of water that sees more than a third of all global trade pass through this channel. The Philippines is one of several countries with territorial claims in the region, with China saying nearly the entire sea belongs to it. But Beijing's claim was rejected by an international court ruling in 2016. China has since increased its presence in the area, recently blasting water cannons to drive out Philippine boats and injuring some of the crew. It's this escalation that is drawing concern from the U.S.
And I want to be clear, the United States defense commitments to Japan and to the Philippines are ironclad. They're ironclad. As I've said before, any attack on Philippine aircraft, vessels, or armed forces in the South China Sea would invoke our mutual defense treaty.
With wars continuing to rage in Gaza and Ukraine, the U.S. is leaning on its Asia-Pacific allies to help deter China from disrupting regional peace and security. Speaking before the trilateral summit, Kishida was the second Japanese prime minister to ever address the U.S. Congress. He told lawmakers that Japan is ready to step up to help safeguard the current international order.
I understand it is a heavy burden to carry such hopes on your shoulders. Although the world looks to your leadership, the U.S. should not be expected to do it all, unaided and on your own.
Japan has already pledged to conduct joint Coast Guard patrols with the Philippines in the South China Sea. Officials also say that this summit is the first of planned regular meetings. Analysts in Washington say the three countries are showing willingness to promote collective security.
The defense environment in Asia will constantly be changing, so we should always continue to have those discussions. But what we can commit to right now and confirm, I think, for the long term is the messaging around the strength of and resiliency of our alliances, partnerships, and friendships.
As the three leaders wrap up this historic meeting, they'll be looking to put words into action and band together in managing one of the world's hottest flashpoints. Andy Shrey and Jaime Okan for TaiwanPlus.
The United States has appealed to China and several other countries to deter Iran from striking Israel. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken told his counterparts from Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and China that escalation in the Middle East is not in anyone's interest. It comes after Iran vowed to retaliate over an Israeli airstrike earlier this month that targeted an Iranian diplomatic building in Damascus, killing 7 Revolutionary Guards. Police say arson may be behind a house fire that killed 3 people and injured 1 other in central Taiwan on Thursday. Initial investigations suggest that the fire in Taichung City was lit after a dispute over a property sale. The house buyer, his family, and his lawyer were at the house when a confrontation broke out with the former owner during the handover. Police suspect that the seller used gasoline to start the fire. Prosecutors are now investigating the case. Taiwanese lawmakers are calling for a crackdown on child pornography amid growing outrage over a celebrity scandal. Television host Mickey Huang was recently fined after police discovered pornographic videos featuring underage girls in his possession. There's been public backlash, with people saying the punishment is too light, prompting criticism against Taiwan's relatively lax child pornography laws. The government has also faced fallout for not immediately taking down the website where Huang purchased the illegal videos. Legislators are now proposing harsher sentencing, as well as technological solutions to block illegal content, including using AI. Taiwanese Hokkien used to be the primary language here in Taiwan, but the language is gradually fading with the rise of Mandarin Chinese. In the U.S., a college student has built her own app to pass the language down and, more importantly, to keep in touch with her grandparents. Joyce Sun has this story.
A digital tool that translates English to Taiwanese Hokkien, invented by Taiwanese-American engineering student Talia Huang. Born in California, Huang grew up trilingual in English, Mandarin, and Taiwanese Hokkien, commonly known as just Taiwanese. Distinct from Mandarin, Taiwanese is the only language Huang has in common with her grandparents. Now a college student far from home, Huang worries she's losing this tie to her family.
I spoke English as my most native language, while Taiwanese was just spoken with my parents and grandparents. So after not practicing for so long, I realized that I needed to create some way that could help me kind of keep up my Taiwanese language.
Huang tapped into her coding skills and created Bobaway, a program that takes English text, translates it into Chinese, as that's the closest written language to Taiwanese, and finally gives a romanized pronouncer. Though still widely spoken among people in Taiwan, the Taiwanese language has been losing its prevalence. Linguists say this is in part due to Mandarin's significance on both the local and global stage.
If people want to keep Taiwanese alive, they need to make a concerted effort to do so, because it's not the language of commerce or power, especially with China's enormous global influence. It's a language spoken more by the older generation than by the younger, which means there's intergenerational language loss as our elders pass on. So it's particularly important that parents and grandparents pass their language down while they still can, especially at home, which is the most important domain for intergenerational language transmission or transfer.
Aside from connecting with home, for Huang, she says fluency in Taiwanese is a big part of her identity. Living outside of Taiwan, she's even more motivated to share her language with others.
Taiwanese has always been a spoken language, and so creating like a written, like a romanization is sort of kind of like westernization a bit. It sort of loses the original tradition, but I do think that romanization also does help with learning a language, especially for foreigners who are trying to learn Taiwanese.
Huang says she has more ideas for her app, melding her coding and linguistic skills to give an accessible digital push to preserve a language that's such a big part of Taiwanese identity. Eason Chen, Eric Tai, and Joyce Zhen for TaiwanPlus.
Thanks for watching What's Up Taiwan. To get more of our reports on your mobile device, go download the TaiwanPlus app. Finally, check out this French athlete making a world record attempt to climb 110 meters to the second floor of the Eiffel Tower. I'm Eric Gao. Take care, and we'll see you next time.